Hi, I'm Jeff Pulver, and I'm informing Informilo.
Hi, Jeff. Thanks so much for being here with us today at DLD. You recently wrote a blog about the outgoing FCC chairman that got a lot of attention on the internet. Tell us what you're hoping for, what you'd expect from the new administration.
Well, looking back at the advent of internet communications, I can tell you that when the technology was purely nascent, since 1996, the administrations of, at least from the FCC perspective, it was pro-technology, pro-innovation. And so what we saw with everyone from Reed Hunt to really through Chairman Martin was basically innovation was embraced. We saw technology grow up from really being a potential to being truly disruptive. Chairman Kennard did nothing wrong to stop that, and really it was Chairman Powell's administration that truly helped encourage other people to disrupt the marketplace. And the blog post basically went on and discovered the fact and just realized the fact that under Chairman Martin, it was the first time in 9 years really that we saw technology innovation stifled by rules and regulations created for legacy communication platforms. Despite the fact that the wireless industry never had to conform to its rules and regulations of wireline, the voice over IP industry was held accountable for old rules and old regulations, and time after time was basically put to the test of not innovating the platforms, but falling back to a standard that really was old rather than embracing the new. And so from the new administration, I'm looking for the new FCC to happen. I'm looking for it to be cool once again, to be a disruptor, cool to challenge the status quo. Because FCCs in the past understood the basic concept of voice being an application and not a service. And they understood what it would mean in the world to basically have competition to the telcos, to have competition, because see, when voice is software and not a service, it changes the dynamics. In fact, truly liberates a world, and I believe that the more we can communicate, the more likely we have less wars. I mean, we're coming into a time right now that there will be billions of people who never had telephone lines who will have an innate ability to communicate. Why? Because through a widespread WiMAX and Wi-Fi installations and broadband just happening in rural spots of the world, the ability to communicate is just there. And so is the opportunity to challenge the old thinking of yesterday. And so what was ironic for me was at the same time I was slightly being a little hard on the former chairman of the FCC, Kevin Martin, and I was doing so just from a factual perspective. What I didn't realize at the same time, he was giving interviews looking back at his legacy. I guess everybody wants to be remembered. Well, P.S., a couple of days after I put out my blog post, do you know the FCC actually came out and went to ComDaily and actually responded to my blog? Now, I don't know the last time in U.S. politics where someone wrote a blog post, at least being critical of someone in some government office, and the government office actually took the initiative to actually respond back. So I feel like, maybe what I said matters. I am proud of the fact that in 2004 the FCC actually issued something called the Pulver Order. So perhaps my voice is heard more than I realize in Washington, D.C. And so I feel a little funny here being asked about what I look for the new FCC, because I know some of these new people. These are not new people to me. These are people that have grown up with, in effect, and people who I know can change the world and who might, but also might have to deal with the reality of what legacy telecom and legacy lobbyists are all about. And maybe even if they're idealistic about the way the future should be, they're going to have to deal with the practical pressures of the way things are. And so what would I like to see? I would like to see it to be cool to be a disruptor. The words fear, greed, and disruption mean a lot to me, but particularly whether you're looking at the future of television or the future of the telephone or the future of anything, to be able to create an environment that's competitive enough so entrepreneurs come out of the woodworks and start to challenge the status quo. And the people are doing things interestingly enough that there's some greed being created so people can get investors. And that there's a real opportunity to create enough fear that people actually take this stuff seriously and actually generate great opportunity, not only jobs, but to move the needle forward. So I'm looking for the new FCC to help change the world, make it a better place, by simply embracing the entrepreneur, bringing back the disruptors into the marketplace, and creating an environment so at least for the next 4 years, we can actually be proud to be a geek, and at the same time take on the challenges of taking on incumbents and having fun along the way.
Thanks. Jeff, you're a long-time disruptor yourself. Can you bring us up to date on, where you are on your various projects like Pulver TV, etc.?
And for the past year and a half or so, more than a year and a half actually, I moved into Facebook about a year and a half ago. And my life's changed ever since. I'm limited now these days because I only can have 5,000 relationships. But I found that when you have 5,000 friends on Facebook, you can put yourself on tour. And I have. It turns out being able to create events and that goes dynamically into your friends' news feeds, which your other friends then see, gives you an opportunity to do great things. In my case, have a little fun. In 2008, I hosted 35 breakfasts in 18 different cities. And what I was able to do is bring together my friends and friends of friends to different places. And I created a technique called real-time social networking, which I've actually filed a patent on, which basically the primitive of it is I have two components, a name, which everyone has, and then a personal tagline, a one-sentence description of who you are. In my case, today, for example, I hosted it this morning during breakfast at DLD, Jeff Pulver, I take having fun seriously. I'm also Jeff Pulver, I travel for breakfast, and my favorite current one is Jeff Pulver living on the edge, but where the analog ocean meets the digital sand. That's sort of the space I've been in, and so what I've observed is bringing together people that know each other online for the first time face to face. The experience of that happening is really interesting to me because a lot of dynamics come into play, and it proves a point that I believe that the more virtual we become, the more we need to interact face to face. And so what I've been doing for the past year or so is exploring the boundaries of what that means, where we're going, and where that's evolving to. And that's in parallel with creating my own studio for Pulver TV and creating a series of events that focus on social media and social networking, but really like looking at the analog side of relationships and really pushing the status quo on getting people together. And it's been an interesting odyssey, but it's one that I think has real meaning for people who are trying to connect, because I think deep down inside, many people are shy. Many people need to be pushed to connect. And at the breakfast I provide, I reduce the boundaries so people feel comfortable. And we just explore the human spirit. And because I believe that the next person you meet may change your life.
Thanks, Jeff. And I would urge all of Informulo's readers to follow Jeff on his blog.
Come to jeffpulver.com. You can look for me on Pulver TV. You might find a new episode. And you can try following me on Twitter. I'm there. And perhaps, I'll delete a friend to meet you. You can find me on Facebook. There's Jeff Kenny Pulver on Facebook. And it's a pleasure to be here.